The next gen consoles have finally hit our shelves, well, sort of. And some of us have been lucky enough to have gotten our hands on either the brand new PlayStation 5 or the Xbox Series X, two consoles which are both equally amazing, and anyone who thinks one is better than the other honestly has to be kidding themselves. They both play their own games, let's move on. But with PlayStation going down the traditional route with their games, making exclusives, boxing them up, and selling them for a slightly higher price than usual, Xbox has their own strategy for this generation, launching the Xbox Gamepass, a system which allows you to play games then and there on PC and Xbox, with all their brand new games coming out going straight onto that service. I'm not a loyalist when it comes to either PlayStation or Xbox, but you cannot deny being able to get brand new games instantly for next to nothing is the most pro-consumer move we have seen in a long time. And sadly, with barely any new exclusives coming to the Xbox during its release, we have to rely on Game Pass to make the most of our new Xbox Series X or Series S. So in this video, I thought it would be fun to throw together 10 of my top picks for games you need to play if you have a new Xbox or are looking for games to play over the Christmas period. Maybe some of these games are ones that you missed back when they launched. I also have some fellow creators helping me out with this video, so make sure you stay around to hear their views on certain games. But for now, welcome to Wisefish, and today I present to you my 10 games I'd recommend getting for Game Pass. Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice was a game that I always felt like it deserved more praise, and with the second game coming out soon, it certainly is attracting more players to go and pick it up and give it a go. But there are just so many things to love about Senua's Sacrifice. To start with, we have to talk about the absolutely amazing sound design, which uses something that honestly I've never heard of before. Senua's Sacrifice uses binaural audio to basically create this really eerie surround sound where it feels like voices are playing from every direction, right in your ear, right behind you, in front of you, from a distance. It is unlike anything I've experienced before. And when the story focuses on Senua, a character who suffers from psychosis, which was thoroughly researched by the team working on this game, bringing in neuroscientists to truly understand the condition and how it really works, it really makes for this eerie atmosphere and gets inside the head of Senua herself. Because the team did so much research into what psychosis is and how it affects an individual, it makes for a really interesting and quite dark and moving story that will grip you for the whole time you play it. The acting is phenomenal as well, especially considering the actor who played Senua wasn't actually a full-time actor. Instead, she was just a member of the team who was brought in just to test scenes with the motion capture. The performance was so good, however, she went on to win awards, and rightfully so. Visually as well, this game is spectacular with a completely minimalist UI that helps immerse you into Senua's world and the world of Helheim, the Norse land of the dead and the damned. The only thing letting this game down is the combat, which at times feels pretty clunky as it tries to follow in the footsteps of, dare I say it, Dark Souls and other Souls-like games. But overall, if you are looking for something completely new and refreshing which is heavily focused on storytelling and world building, then Senua's Sacrifice is certainly the game for you. And I'd recommend it even more knowing that Hellblade 2 Senua's Saga will be dropping in 2021, a game that now has a massive backing by Microsoft, something that could put Xbox up for Game of the Year. Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice is a fantastic game, and if you like Norse themed games and something with a unique story with incredible sound design, this is a game you need to pick up on Xbox or PC on Game Pass. A bit of a different one here, as I want to massively recommend Gears 5, but I also felt like it was worth combining it with the original Gear trilogy, as they are all on Game Pass. But I'm not going to tell you why Gears 1 to 3 and Gears 5 are worth getting. Instead, I'm going to pass that over to my good friend Andrew from Team Respawn. Take it away, Andrew.
Hey, this is Andrew from Team Respawn. I've been known to make videos on Halo Wars, but another series that's near and dear to my heart is Gears of War. And I want to take a few minutes to talk about why I love Gears of War, specifically the original trilogy and the most recent release, Gears 5. I'm going to start with the original trilogy. Gears of War 1 and the IP in general helped bring cover and squad-based third-person shooters to console. There really wasn't anything kind of like Gears of War by the time it came out, and it kind of helped revolutionize not only this genre, but make it more viable for other games that kind of take the same mechanics to show up on console too. It wasn't as revolutionary as Halo bringing FPS to console, but it still made steps in the right direction to bring more shooters to console. It established an IP to Xbox that's only second to Halo. Everyone knows Xbox is the Halo machine, but it's also now the Gears of War machine, and I think as time goes on, more and more people become fans of Gears of War as this series now is going into other genres and types of media. The original trilogy, each new game in that trilogy included new features, more guns, and expanding the story with highs and lows. There were some really awesome boss battles in the Gears of War original trilogy that, larger than life bosses that you would have to take down, and also some low points too, really some emotional characters that you would see be sent off or die in the series. And Gears of War does a really good job of balancing the two, of the highs and the lows. It doesn't take itself too seriously. It makes sure that it includes some humor in some points as well. But I really enjoy the cast of characters in the original trilogy. I think Marcus Phoenix is a great, really strong center character. And then he's surrounded by a really good supporting cast with Dom and Cole, Baird, and some of the other characters we'll see throughout the games are really, really great. And I think the voice acting is superb in all of the Gears of War games. And I think it does a really good job of dropping surprises when you least expect it as well. I think the entire original trilogy is a must play. The original trilogy is now enhanced on the Xbox One X and the Series X, so they do look better and they run better, and they remastered the first game, Gears of War Ultimate Edition, is also available there. Moving on to Gears of War 5, I think the open world in Gears of War 5 worked really, really well. It kind of gave you an element of exploration, trying to see what new clues you can discover on this really gripping story. I know it's a little bit of a heated discussion of whether players really enjoy the direction the story's going in Gears of War 4 and 5, but me personally, I loved it. The game looks absolutely stunning on the Xbox One X and the Series X. The frame rate is at 60 FPS. It can go all the way up to 4K resolution. I mean, you really have to see this game to see how good it looks. And you've seen some videos floating around, I'm sure, on the Series X running Gears 5, and it looks even better. There's also some choices in Gears 5 that can even impact the ending of the game. And when my friend Ed and I played through this in co-op, we chose a particular choice in dialogue, and it changed the ending in a way we didn't see coming, and we were shocked that the game actually went that way. We're like, oh, this would never happen, but it actually did. I'm not going to spoil anything. You'll have to play it for yourself, but if you have played it, you may understand what I'm talking about. Again, more exploration. I thought getting on the vehicles in Gears 5 and kind of just driving around exploring the land was really, really cool. There was more character development. We got to see more of Kate and her backstory. And again, I thought the entire story was gripping and entertaining, and it was really interesting to see how it all folded out. I think that the series is in really good hands. We're going to see some really good entries in Gears of War in the future, but if you have Game Pass or if you're just curious on this series, it is a must play. I think it's just so good, especially in co-op, to play with a friend. This is a really good series, and I'm glad that Xbox has this to stand with it alongside Halo.
A bit of an old but gold one, but with Fallout 76 and Fallout 4 sort of pushing the fanbase away with some absolutely terrible decisions, I think it's worth remembering when Fallout was on top of the game. New Vegas was, in my honest opinion, the best Fallout game ever made, and that may be partially because it wasn't made by Bethesda, but instead the smaller studio of Obsidian, the team who have now gone on to make The Outer Worlds and are going on to make Avowed, another RPG set within the Pillars of Eternity universe. New Vegas is just amazing from start to finish. The story is far better than Fallout 3 and 4. The world building is incredible, the characters are extremely memorable, the vast array of different choices throughout the questing really changes up scenarios with multiple endings, all so different from one another, and the faction system is just brilliant. I've played this game so many times, and each time I remember why it's my top Fallout game. It proves to me that Obsidian are the gods of the RPG genre, as they seem to be able to give players just so much choice choice on just how they want to approach everything they do. It was when Fallout was fully an RPG and not an FPS with RPG elements. I still remember the locations, I love all the different characters that are out in the landscapes, and honestly New Vegas is just an absolute joy to play with so much replayability, not with just the main story, but with how side quests work as well. There's one quest, for example, which allows you to approach it in about 5 different ways, and if you want to know more about that, definitely check out Game Maker's Toolkit's video on it. It's really impressive, and an insight into how amazing the team at Obsidian are making quests, and how they pump them full of player choice. I know this game is old, but it is at least 60 hours of content that you will not regret. Sure, the combat and the graphics haven't aged amazingly, but the world design is brilliant, the factions are great, the main story is brilliant as well, and you will honestly immerse yourself for hours on end. It is a must play for anyone who is an RPG fan or someone who is new to the Fallout universe. I know a lot of people will dispute this game because, let's be honest, it hasn't had the best track record over the years. But with all that said and done, there's a lot to be praised within this game that does get overlooked quite often. For me, Destiny is a game that you can really lose yourself in. Whilst you can take it seriously, as there are some really great stories within this universe and so much lore to unpack, it really is a game you can sit back to, shoot some enemy aliens whilst listening to a podcast, music, or watch one of my many videos in the background. It really is a great game to just play to relax to. But then if you want to challenge yourselves, there are so many other features. You have PvP, which isn't my personal cup of tea, but you have a lot of people who love playing it. You have Gambit, which is a fantastic concept of a shooter, and whilst it has its problems, I still find that it has its really fun moments. You have weekly and monthly quests to grind to get power up, standard and much harder Nightfall dungeons to play through with a group of 3, really amazingly detailed raids that test your puzzle solving skills as well as your firefight skills, and of course the many different campaigns to play like Forsaken and Beyond Light, which are all now on Game Pass. There is so much to do on Destiny that quite frankly you'd be mad to say there is nothing to do within the game, unless you had done literally everything, which I'm pretty sure is impossible. With graphical upgrades on Series X and Series S, once again now is the best time to play it, with that buttery smooth 60 frames per second gameplay. But don't take my word for it, here's my good friend LateNightGaming talking about why he thinks Destiny is a great game to pick up.
So something about Destiny that I think is super interesting is the way that the world wants you to invest yourself into it. You've got these creatures that you're fighting, such as the Fallen or the Hive or the Vex, and by pure curiosity, that's what leads a player down a rabbit hole of reading things. It's almost like, imagine an old CIA movie where you're kind of like pinning pictures to a corkboard and tying strings and connecting the dots. That's kind of the way that you explore the Destiny universe. And by designing it like that, the player gets very invested because they feel as if they're stumbling upon hidden knowledge that the casual fan base of Destiny doesn't know about. And that very much is the case. Some people play Destiny purely for the shooting mechanics, and other people play it for the secret narrative, the hidden lore. And as far as the combat goes, I guess the appeal of the combat is the way that, unlike Halo, where the focus is on the external sandbox, you're really not that special in Halo, and what makes you special is the tools that you find and the weapons that you use against the enemy. Destiny, you are the weapon, inherently, and what you're doing is you're optimizing your lethality. You start off a little bit clunky, a little bit slow, your gear isn't quite there, your perks aren't quite there, but by the end of your playtime with Destiny, you are a well-oiled killing machine. You're essentially just like a bullet. You're just flying through the enemies and carving through them, and that's immensely satisfying. Destiny is a very expressive game, one of the most expressive games I've ever played, and the act of becoming that living bullet is just, it's fun. It's fun seeing the enemies go down a little bit quicker with each level up and each further refinement of your kit.
Destiny 2 is a personal favourite of mine, and every time I log in to the game, I always find there are tons of things to see and do, and with constant updates happening from Bungie and its many upcoming seasons packed full of quests, guns, armour, ranked PvP and other activities, there is so much content to tuck into. It is a fantastic looter shooter that has come a long way since its first release. If you love FPS games and grinding for loot with friends, this is the game for you. I'm including the Ori series here instead of just one game because once again I feel like both these games need more love and more people to experience them. This is a truly beautiful game that is a really solid platformer for those who just want to chill and play something quite relaxing, as well as those who want to really challenge themselves. Ori is not only just a cute looking platformer with, I must say, a truly beautiful art style that looks incredible on the Series X and S now running 120 frames per second, but it is also a really heartwarming story. Playing this game, I didn't expect to get the feels, but man, during the beginning of the first game, within the first few minutes, I felt myself getting emotional. Even though these characters don't have massive personalities, their journey warms you, and you just want to continue this adventure at all costs. It's the perfect example of how something so simple can really make an impact on you, and both games do that amazingly well. Mechanics are also worth praising. Just all round, this is a really great platformer that has a lot of challenges if you want them, as well as a truly heartwarming story that will encapture you within the first 10 minutes of play. Now this game has a big update on the Series X and S. I don't see a better time to experience this game and experience a Microsoft IP that sometimes gets overlooked, because believe me, it's worthy of praise, and I feel it gets overlooked by a lot of people. A game series which quite frankly is one that I get annoyed about because of how many times it doesn't get praised and recommended by awards or just gamers in general. I've been playing the Metro franchise since the first game, and whilst I was hesitant because it was a horror survival shooter, I found myself absolutely falling in love with this incredibly constructed world of post-apocalyptic Russia. The level of detail that went into the tunnels of the Metro and how they showed human life in the dire times was fantastic storytelling, and it really piqued my interest for this whole universe of Metro. Reading the books, playing the games multiple times, I honestly love this series. But Metro Exodus did something daring and took things a little bit further, taking a story outside those claustrophobic, terrifying tunnels of the Metro and outside into the wilds of post-apocalyptic Russia in a hope to find humanity and a new home to rebuild. Exodus is a fantastic way of advancing a series while sticking true to its storytelling roots. It has amazing world building, it has super tense moments and some shocks along the way. Graphically as well, this game is beautiful, especially when RTX is turned on, and now the new Xboxes have RTX, this game can truly shine. This is a fantastic story driven game with some brilliant combat, player choice, multiple endings and some beautiful graphics. But then that's not all. It also has some of the most terrifying and cool creatures within a post-apocalyptic game that will easily give you the creeps, which my good friend Roanoke, the professor of morphology, will tell you about now.
After a nuclear exchange between the United States and Russia for reasons relatively unknown, nobody knew who actually fired the first nuke, but everyone knew what the outcome was. Avoiding as many spoilers as possible, essentially, nukes weren't the only thing sent into the Russian homeland. A form of mutagenic warhead was deployed as well on them, and that, along with the radiation, meant that the Russian people were forced into the metros of their cities, specifically Moscow in this case, to eke out a living on the edge of permanent destruction almost daily. When the first nukes fell, the entire country was essentially caught off guard when they finally hit. Roughly 2 decades later, the surface is still a hostile wasteland teeming with monsters ready to rip off your gas mask and then rip off your head. Most of these creatures are nothing more than animalistic driven monsters trying to satiate their need to eat in a cold, barren world. Some, however, may arguably be smarter than the remaining humans and have evolved past the status of Homo sapiens to become Homo novus. However, this evolutionary path that made the Dark Ones, or Homo novus as they're called, would not actually extend to all branches of humanity. The idea of nature versus human human design comes into question with specifically a few monsters that you come across. Whereas humans would ultimately design the Dark Ones, nature would design a terrifying monster from the humans that once used to walk the halls of the library in Moscow. Known as the Librarians, these massive beasts stalk and patrol their hallways with ferocity and a bloodlust that would cause them to even jump on the back of a demon after it entered their territory. And arguably, Librarians could overpower this demon as well, considering it was beating the absolute hell out of it. They crave human flesh and have been known on many occasions to consume any person who walks into the library for any reason. What's most interesting about these creatures is despite their absolutely monstrous appearance, there is still a little bit of humanity left in them. It is known that if you stare into the eyes of them far enough away, they will stop their attack and stare back. Not a challenging method, but it appears to remind them of what they once were. This is not a permanent arrangement, however. If for any reason you break eye contact or get close, the monsters will proceed to completely rip you limb from limb. The Librarian appears to have been one that took refuge in the library during the events of the nuking. It would also appear that they got a massive dose of the mutagenic substance as it blanketed the library. Inside, within one generation, they turned from human to an almost progenitor of the Homo sapiens race, a regression of evolution to an earlier, more primitive being. So you may ask yourself, well, why go to the surface at all? Why tangle with the Librarians or the demons? Despite war leading to the absolute hellscape that you see when you exit the metro, war drums still beat within the tunnels. Many factions fight to control the metro entirely, so then the question remains, are the monsters outside really as dangerous as the humans within the tunnels themselves?
If you haven't played any of the Metro games, I highly recommend playing Exodus. This game will take your breath away, will give you the creeps, and will force you to make some crucial choices along the way. With its added expansions as well, you are in for a survival horror FPS that will capture you for a good 10 to 20 hours, and if you're like me, you will love every minute of it, and wish that it had won more awards along the way. Alien Isolation is not a game I'd usually recommend as I'm not a big horror game fan, but this game is a masterpiece and one of the tensest games I have ever played. After the Alien series completely destroyed itself with Colonial Marines, it looked almost certain that a good Alien game was not going to happen. Then out of nowhere, Creative Assembly released Alien Isolation. Nothing is quite as terrifying as playing hide and seek with a huge alien with two mouths as you equip a motion sensor and try to find the best way to creep around your ship to escape. Sound design on this game makes it an even tenser experience than it already is, and as well as that, graphically this game still looks great even 6 years on. If you've ever been a fan of the Alien films and want to know what it feels like trying to escape from a 10-foot alien that would kill you on sight, then Alien Isolation is the game for you. It's the perfect survival game for anyone who loves horror games, and it's finally a movie licensed franchise that I can happily recommend. A brilliant all-round horror game that you need to at least experience. I feel like I am preaching to the choir with this choice because let's be honest, if you have an Xbox, there's a chance, like a 99.99999% chance, you have heard or played a Halo title in your lifetime. But I still feel like this is an essential game to bring up when we talk about games to get on Game Pass, because a lot has changed since MCC's release back in 2014, and now that Game Pass works for PC as well, MCC is a well-deserved package that needs to be praised despite how you feel about the 343 Industries or the Halo franchise at the moment. But who better to tell you guys about why MCC is a great package to pick up than the iconic lore master himself, Mr. HiddenXperia.
Cheers, Wisefish! So, whether you're new to Halo, jumped into the franchise in the past couple years, or have been playing from day one in 2001, the Master Chief Collection is an incredible toy box of Halo games that you are bound to love. To say that the MCC got off on a bad foot in 2014 is quite possibly the understatement of the century. I mean, it was one of, if not the worst launch in the history of video games. To cut a long story short, basically, the game just flat out didn't work. However, it's since gotten a ton of love and care from a dedicated team of developers within 343. And now, I can honestly say that the Master Chief Collection is the best collection of games out there. Not only does it feature every FPS Halo title released prior to 2014, but it also features the gorgeous Halo 2 Anniversary, the contentious yet still pretty damn good Halo Combat Evolved anniversary, Halo 3, ODST, Reach, and Halo 4, all of which are up-resed and up-textured to support up to 4K resolutions and up to 120 FPS on next-gen consoles. But wait, there's more. You see, with the release of Reach in the MCC, 343 took this collection one step further, porting, for the first time ever, the entire Halo series over to PC, something the Halo fanbase had practically begged for since Halo 3's PC release went missing in action in 2007. And furthermore, with the recent addition of crossplay, if you happen to have drifted away from console towards PC gaming in recent years, but still have friends who like to game only on console, you can finally play together in perfect harmony, regardless of your platform. But wait, there's even more! With ODST's release on PC, 343 have officially ported over Firefight to MCC. Endless hordes of Covenant are just begging to be slayed in both Reach and ODST, a recent yet beloved addition to the collection. But wait, there's even more! A number of the titles in the MCC, including Combat Evolved, Halo 3, Reach, and Halo 4, have been taken to the next level, and have essentially become like Halo 3.5, Reach.5, etc, thanks to the addition of weapon skins, vehicle skins, new customization options, massive Forge expansions, and more. And the best part is, there isn't even a microtransaction in sight. All of these new shiny skins and cosmetics are unlocked entirely through gameplay and gameplay alone. Whether it's by leveling up and going through the battle pass, completing a specific challenge or achievement, or hitting a certain skill rank, there really is a cosmetic for players of all varieties to grind for. And that's the best thing about the MCC. It doesn't matter what kind of Halo fan you are, it doesn't matter when you became a fan or what it was about Halo that made you a fan in the first place. There's guaranteed to be something in here for you to enjoy. And with even more major additions planned for future updates, I have a feeling we're just getting started with the MCC.
Not to be confused with The Outer Worlds, The Outer Wilds is honestly unlike any game you have ever played before. It's honestly a game that is really hard to talk about because I really don't want to give anything away with this game. The Outer Wilds is best to be experienced when you go into this game completely blind. It is an extremely relaxing, curiosity-focused exploration game where you are a little alien astronaut who explores this small universe, uncovering the mysteries within it. You don't wield a gun or do any fighting. The main gameplay loop is to uncover puzzles, see the different worlds which all have unique elements to them, and to just enjoy your exploration. As I say, it is unlike any other game I have played to date, and really just grabs hold of your curiosity and dream of venturing out amongst the stars to see what else is out there. The game resets every 25 minutes, allowing you to plan a different route and maybe uncover something completely new. You will die a lot, but that is all part of the adventure. It wants you to keep exploring and not get fixated on one specific thing. Matched with an absolutely beautiful soundtrack that you will want on repeat at all times as you venture through the starry night, The Outer Wilds is quickly becoming one of my favourite games of all time, and I wish I listed this as my game of the year for 2019 because quite frankly there is just so much to love about it. If you have never heard of The Outer Wilds before, I implore you check it out and give it a go. Maybe it won't be your cup of tea, but for those who like games that encourage you to explore and puzzle solve, you will not want to skip this one any longer. Available on PC and Xbox, I massively recommend The Outer Wilds, but also say go into this game blind and you will totally not regret it. If you've been a subscriber on my channel for a while, what else did you expect from me? Of course, I was going to say Witcher 3. It's my all-time favourite game, and I am so thrilled that this game is available on Game Pass. I won't talk about it too much because I have a full video on why I love this game, and also I did a top 10 games of all time video where I talk about this game and why it's my favourite. But to summarise why this game is the top of this list, it gives you, the player, over 80 plus hours of content, and meaningful content with really well written stories, interesting side quests, armor to hunt down and craft, a beautiful world to experience, and 2 expansions with at least 30 plus hours worth of content in them. Witcher 3 is one of the best RPG games to date, with so much player choice, so many quests to test your skills, as well as many different dialogue choices which alternate the endings of storylines and the game's overall endings. CD Projekt Red took the story that explored the weird and wonderful folklore of Poland and turned it into one of the biggest game franchises within the industry, and turned CD Projekt Red themselves into the giants they are today. If you haven't played The Witcher 3 yet and you are looking for something that can grab you for hours on end, then this is the game for you. And now the Series X and S can run this at 2K and 4K 60 frames per second. There is no better time to immerse yourselves into this beautiful masterpiece that has won countless awards. It's my favourite game of all time, and hopefully it will be yours too if you haven't played it yet. Definitely give it a go and let me know what you think. But that's it. Those are the top 10 games I totally recommend you getting if you have Game Pass and you are looking to play something on your beautiful new Xbox Series X or S. I really wanted to add more like Red Dead Redemption 2 and Cuphead, but for some reason Red Dead Redemption 2 got taken off of Game Pass almost instantly, and Cuphead, despite being owned by Microsoft, is still not available on Game Pass, and I don't really know why that is. But that doesn't take away from the fact that all the games I mentioned are fantastic experiences no one should miss out on. A big shout out to the channels that helped me with this video: Team Respawn, LateNightGaming, HiddenXperia, and Roanoke Gaming. I really appreciate you guys helping me with this one, and if you guys enjoyed their parts, do make sure you check out their channels. The links to them are in the description below. Also, if you enjoyed this video, please make sure you to give it a like, and if you aren't subbed, why not hit that sub button now? Thank you so much for watching, and if you have any game recommendations, do post them down below in the comments. I'll leave my social media links below if you want to follow me on there, as well as my Patreon links. And speaking of Patreon, I'd like to thank mine real quick. Big thanks to our big fish Duquesne23, our sharks JP and Dylan, and our huge megalodons Morgan Brazier, Sinus, and JJD896. Thank you all so much for your support. It really means the world to me. But that is all for now. Thank you all again for watching, and I shall see you all in the next one. Cheers.